Well, good evening, everyone. I am going to call this meeting to order. This is the October 11th, 2023 meeting of the City of Pasco Hearing Examiner. My name is Andy Kottkamp, and I've been appointed by Pasco, the City of Pasco, to serve as a land use hearing examiner. My job is to render decisions and recommendations on various items that are authorized to come before me, which include final decisions on special permits and recommendations on rezones. Now, I consider any testimony and evidence presented at today's hearing, as well as all the written materials that are already on file in order to make my decision. Now, although this hearing process does have certain rules, I'll try to conduct the meeting in a relaxed and informal manner, but we still have a procedure we're going to use. We'll take each item separately, and for each item, staff will present their report and make whatever recommendations that they wish to make. Then the applicant or the applicant's representative will be given an opportunity to present their testimony and evidence. The applicant does have the burden of proof to show compliance with all the applicable rules and regulations. And if there's somebody from the public that came to testify on the application that we're talking about, I'll give you that chance to do so. And if there is any testimony in opposition to a project, I will give the applicant an opportunity to submit whatever rebuttal testimony they wish to make. Because the applicant has the burden of proof, the applicant gets the last opportunity to present testimony and evidence. Now, if you are going to testify, I'll have you come on up to the podium there in the hearing room. I'll have you state your name and your address, and then I'll swear you in as a witness. I'd ask you to keep your testimony relevant to the application that we're talking about and not to other issues beyond the scope of that proposal. And if you have anything in writing that you want to submit today, we can make those arrangements. Now, I have the option following tonight's hearing to keep the record open for either of the items if I think there's a need for additional written testimony to be submitted. But in any event, my written decision will be made within 10 working days after I close the public record. Except as provided by the Pasco Municipal Code regarding request for reconsideration. On the special permit item, my decision is final and conclusive unless it is appealed. Appeals are by means of what's called a land use petition action. They have to be filed within 21 days of the date of the issuance of the decision. Those are filed with Franklin County Superior Court. If the appeal isn't timely filed, the appeal would be barred. Now, on the rezone application, on that matter, I make a recommendation to City Council. My recommended decision is not subject to an appeal. City Council will make the final decision at what's called a closed record public hearing. So tonight's hearing is open record public hearing. So this is when the public and the applicant are allowed to testify. And then I'll make a recommendation, and then the City Council will hold a closed record public hearing. And that means there's no new evidence presented at that hearing. The City Council will have available to them my recommendation, plus this entire hearing and the recording of this hearing, and all the materials that I admit into the record. And then the City Council will make the final decision on the rezone application. Now, I've reviewed both items on today's agenda. I don't have any interest in either of the properties or the proposals to be heard today. I will be able to fairly and objectively consider each item on tonight's agenda. And outside of receiving and reviewing the staff report for each item, along with all the application materials and the comments that have come through and the noticing documents and maps and zoning maps and comprehensive plan maps, basically other than receiving and reviewing the entire planning staff file, I've not had any communication regarding either item on tonight's agenda. So with those representations, if you do have an objection to me serving as the hearing examiner for either item, you need to come forward and state so at this time. All right, seeing no movement, we'll turn to the first item on today's agenda. This is the special permit item action that I was talking about, SP 2023-011. And this is basically a special permit request for the collection and transport of medical waste on property located within the city of Pasco that is more specifically described in the staff report as well as in all those application materials. For the record, I'll admit into the record that staff report, all those attachments to the staff report, which include all the mapping, there's photographs, noticing documents, application materials. I'll admit all those items, and indeed I will admit the entire finance staff file into the record at this time by this reference, and I'll turn this matter over to Mr. Adams for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. As mentioned, this is report number SP 2023-011. SP stands for special permit. This is the year 2023, and this is item number 11 on the list. This is for Trilogy Medwaste West LLC, collection and transport of medical waste in a C3 zoning district. This site is located at 620 East Salt Lake Street, Suite B, parcel number 113, excuse me, 502079. And it is located on the south side of East Salt Lake Street between North California and North Utah Avenues, as you can see on the map. The property is zoned C3, which is general commercial, and the site contains approximately 1.4 acres of land. Applicant wishes to collect and transport medical waste to a trailer located at 620 East Salt Lake Street, Suite B. A rented warehouse on site will be utilized as office space and for storage of empty, clean waste containers. Sealed waste-filled containers will be scanned, weighed, and transferred to the trailer. No waste-filled containers will be opened. One 26-foot box truck and one 53-foot trailer will be stored on site and utilized for the collection and storage of medical waste. SEPA notice of this project was sent to the Pasco School District on August 14th, 2023. No response was received to date. Public notice was sent to property owners within 300 feet of the subject property in the newspaper on 20 September 2023. And then a copy of the hearing examiner's report was also sent to the Pasco School District on October 9th, 2023. Per Pasco Municipal Code 25.165.120 subsection 3, uses or activities that process or dispose of medical wastes as defined by Chapter 173-303 WAC, that's the Washington Administrative Code, are required to obtain a special permit following the procedure of Chapter 25.200 PMC. This site was improved with an 80 by 145 steel shell industrial building in 2016. And I'm going to find pictures of those. That is the site. Marie Curie STEM Elementary School is located within 500 feet of the site to the south. The proposed Career and College Academy High School would be located to the north within 500 feet of the site. Whittier Elementary School is located slightly more than 500 feet from the site. Collection of medical waste is a specialized service, and the City of Pasco franchisee Basin Disposal does not provide collection of medical waste. The special permit approval conditions include the following. The special permit shall apply to parcel 113-502-079, which is the site on the photo. Each employee involved in the operations of the facility shall undergo training as required by the applicable local, state, and federal regulations, as well as internal corporate requirements. All employees shall have annual medical surveillance evaluations. All waste shall be contained in PG2 Department of Transportation approved containers and never leave containment. Applicant shall coordinate design of appropriate screening with community and economic development in the Pasco School District. And the special permit shall become null and void if one or more of the following occur on the premise. A, the site becomes a public nuisance as defined in PMC 9.90, and or nuisance activities as defined in PMC 9.90 persist at the site. One correction that we need or rather a modification, it's not a correction, that we need to make on the staff report is that the environmental checklist was signed and submitted to the state on October 10th, which was yesterday, with a recommendation or with a mitigation that applicant shall coordinate design of appropriate screening with community and economic development and the Pasco School District. So those are the highlights of our staff report.
All right, thank you. I am looking at your staff report for that SEPA. Where would, do you have that right in front of you, Mr. Adams, where the SEPA reference was specifically?
Yes, it's on page 3, section 6, environmental determination.
Oh, there it is.
The report says that it is anticipated to be issued, and it was, we're going to change that to issued October 10th, 2023. And then the recommendation is found in the in approval condition number 5. So it's the same as the mitigation on SEPA.
All right, so the SEPA on the MDNS, your proposed condition of approval number 5 is the same one that was on the MDNS?
That is correct.
All right, I want to make sure about that. All right, I've reviewed everything several times. I don't have any questions of staff. Thank you very much, Mr. Adams. Is the applicant ready to proceed? Yeah, why don't you come on up, sir? I'm gonna have you state your name and your address. I'll have a few easy questions for you, and then I'll ask you what you want to tell me about the project. So your name, please.
It's Chad Plata.
How do you spell your last name? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry. It's Plata.
All right, and an address for you, sir. It can be a work address.
Our corporate address is 8554 Katy Freeway. That's in Houston, Texas, 77024.
All right, sir, I'm going to have you raise your right hand for me, please. And do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that any testimony you give tonight will be the truth?
Yes.
All right. So I have just a couple of preliminary questions for you. Are you here as an agent authorized to appear and speak on behalf of the applicant and property owner?
I'm
Does
the
that make
applicant.
sense? I'm sorry. So the answer is yes?
Yes.
All right. Have you had a chance to review the staff report prepared by Mr. Adams?
I sure have. Yes, sir.
And do you have any disagreement with any of the representations set forth within the staff report?
I have no disagreement.
And then there are a few proposed conditions of approval. Do you have any objection with any of those?
No, sir. No objection.
All right, I'd like to get those questions out of the way. Now, what would you like to tell me about this process?
Well, overall, it's a very simple process. We're hoping to continue what we've been doing a little bit north in Kennewick into the Pasco area, where we service medical providers such as clinics, small hospitals, veterinary offices, and such that collect medical waste, and we bring it back to a central location, always containerized and moved from a single collection vehicle into a larger long-haul vehicle, and then transport it weekly off-site to our further processing facility in Tacoma, which ultimately will be sent to the Marion County incinerator for final disposition.
So from the facility on Salt Lake Avenue, the materials will be removed approximately once a week. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
All right. What else would you like to tell me, if anything?
Nothing else, sir.
All right. Well, I hope you didn't have to come all the way up from Houston for this, but thank you if you did. I don't have any further questions for you.
All right. Thank you.
Is there any member of the public that is there that wishes to testify on this matter? I see a couple of gentlemen there. Okay, nobody else. And I assume, Mr. Adams, there's nobody online. I don't see anybody to testify. Is there anything further from staff?
Let me check one staff person here. Oh, he's for the other. So no. No on both
Okay.
questions.
All right, thank you very much. So what I'm going to do, Mr. Plata, is I'm going to close the public record portion of the hearing at this time. I will have a written decision made within the next 10 working days. If it's not out by the end of this week, it'll be out early next week. We'll turn to the second item on today's agenda. This is a rezone application requesting, given application number Z2023-007. This is a request to rezone property from C1 to R1 on property that is located within the city of Pasco, that is more specifically described in the staff report as well as in all those application materials. Now, for the record, I will admit into the record that staff report, all the application materials, all the noticing documents, all the comments that have come through. There are maps and diagrams and photographs, and I'll admit all those items. Indeed, I will admit the entire planning staff file into the record at this time by this reference. And again, turn this matter over to Mr. Adams for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Again, for the benefit of our viewing community, this is Staff Report Z, which stands for Zoning 2023-007. Maoki Mark Feng, I hope I pronounced that correctly. This is for a zoning amendment of 1028 West Nixon Street from C1 to R1. This property is located at 1028 West Nixon Street, which is parcel number 112-124-219, and it is located along the south side of West Nixon Street and near the southeast corner of North 12th Avenue. The property is zone C1, which is Retail Business District, and the site contains approximately 0.22 acres, so less than a quarter of acre, around 9,499 square feet. Applicant wishes to rezone the property from C1, which is Retail Business, to R1, which is Low Density Residential. For the record, public notice was sent to property owners within 300 feet of the subject property and the newspaper on September 20th, 2023. The land use element of the comprehensive plan designates the lot Low Density Residential District. And I'm just going to go to that map. So this is the vicinity map. That's the zoning map. The pink is C1. As you can see, it's surrounded by R1 to the north and the east. There's commercial to the south and to the west. And then the comprehensive plan land use map shows the entire area to be designated for low density residential. A change in zoning would be consistent with the comprehensive plan land use map. According to the Pasco Municipal Code table, 25.215.015, the low density residential classification is intended to accommodate a variety of residential housing at a density of 3 to 6 dwelling units per acre, according to the table in Pasco Municipal Code. The low density residential classifications allow for RS20, RS12, RS1, R1, which is the requested zoning designation, R1A and R1A2 zoning designations. Just a side note, even at the highest density, which is 6 units per acre, this lot at 9,499 square feet would only allow one residential unit. And those are the highlights of this report.
And the only question that I had, I was just looking at that corner lot right there at 12th and Nixon, that parking lot. So that parking lot is not part of this request, is it? That's
No,
is that
sir.
what I understand?
That is actually owned by the property to the south, which is I think it's an Elks Lodge or one of the membership club lodges. But the parking that you see, there are 8 parking spaces adjacent and attached to that property.
Right. Okay. Super. Thank you very, very much. Is the applicant ready to proceed?
Let me
Is there somebody here for the applicant? Or is
Let
there
me
somebody
get him.
online?
Let me get him online here. Mr. Fang, would you like to speak?
Sir, if you can hear us, Mr. Fang, if you'd like to provide testimony, just let us know. If you don't want to provide testimony, that's just fine too. It's up to you.
Okay, I don't have anything to say.
All right, Mr. Fang has appeared but has declined to testify at this time. All right, I see some folks still in the hearing room. Did anybody from the public come to testify today? If you'd like to testify, just come on up forward to the podium. And I do not see anybody moving to come up. Okay. Is there anything further from staff?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Fang, what I'm going to do is I am going to close the record at this time. I'll make my recommendation to City Council within the next 10 business days. Working
Thank
days.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
There are no other items that are on tonight's agenda, so I'm now going to adjourn this October 11th, 2023 meeting of the City of Pasco Hearing Examiner. Hope everybody has a delightful evening and the weather holds for another couple of days so we can have another wonderful fall weekend this weekend. This meeting is adjourned. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.